Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. Good evening. The bluster has evaporated, replaced by the cold, undeniable reality of a geopolitical catastrophe. Behind closed doors, the current administration is reportedly in a state of sheer panic, actively preparing to abandon a conflict it initiated, a move military historians are already describing as one of the most humiliating strategic defeats in modern American history. According to explosive new reporting from the Wall Street Journal, the commander-in-chief has explicitly instructed aides to identify an immediate off-ramp from the Iranian conflict. The White House is now urgently searching for a way to end combat operations, even if it means permanently leaving the vital Strait of Hormuz in a state of total deadlock. Intelligence assessments have finally pierced the bubble surrounding the Oval Office. Defense officials are now admitting that any attempt to forcibly reopen the strait would drag the United States into a prolonged, unwinnable quagmire far beyond the original 4 to 6 week timeline. Suddenly, the objective is no longer a triumphant occupation. The administration is frantically attempting to rebrand a full-scale retreat as a localized victory, claiming that the revised goal is simply to degrade Iranian conventional military capabilities. Ground operations, once loudly championed as the decisive solution, have been quietly removed from the priority list. Notice the sudden shift in rhetoric. We are operating in 2026. Modern warfare is no longer decided by conventional tank battalions or legacy air power. The battle space is now dominated by first-person view drone swarms, loitering munitions, and precision ballistic missiles. You cannot claim victory by defeating a conventional army while your own infrastructure is being systematically dismantled by advanced asymmetric technology. Recall the absolute confidence radiating from Washington just weeks ago. The narrative was uncompromising. Regime change would be swift. The Iranian public would flood the streets in gratitude. The nuclear program would be erased and missile stockpiles obliterated. None of that materialized. Instead, we are watching an administration move the goalposts in real time. Recent directives from the State Department reveal dramatically downgraded objectives. Top diplomats, including Marco Rubio, are now outlining a narrower checklist: destroy the Iranian Air Force, neutralize the Navy, and diminish missile launching capabilities. But just last week, the president publicly claimed that Iran's missile capabilities had already been fully obliterated. The contradictions are glaring. More importantly, notice what is entirely absent from this new checklist: regime change, nuclear dismantlement, and securing the Strait of Hormuz, the very foundations used to justify the conflict in the first place. The strategic fallout has been immense. The Iranian parliament has codified a law asserting total sovereign ownership over the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran is now charging transit tolls to foreign allies while enforcing a complete blockade against the United States and Israel. By initiating this conflict, Washington has effectively handed control of the world's most critical energy artery directly to Iran. At the same time, sanctions on both Iranian and Russian oil exports have effectively collapsed. If the administration's definition of victory involves empowering Moscow and Beijing, then by that metric, this has been a spectacular success. For the United States, however, it represents a devastating strategic defeat. Iran is not even attempting to hide its amusement. The Iranian Foreign Ministry recently mocked Washington on social media, sarcastically thanking the president for his threats while announcing that the strait would remain open only to Chinese petroleum tankers. The ripple effects are now tearing through allied command structures. The Israeli military is reportedly facing a severe resource crisis. Confronted with critical shortages, the IDF is shifting operational focus away from hardened military targets and toward Iranian civilian and economic infrastructure, including gas pipelines and steel plants. Let us be absolutely clear. Systematically targeting civilian energy and economic infrastructure is a grave violation of international law, and it invites immediate symmetrical retaliation. Iran has responded mercilessly, striking steel and energy grids across neighboring Arab states when allied forces bombed academic science centers. At Tehran University, Iran threatened American universities in Qatar, triggering mass evacuations. 13 major United States military bases across the Middle East are now reportedly sitting abandoned. Over the last 48 hours alone, Iranian precision strikes have crippled a massive Kuwaiti oil tanker off the coast of Dubai and destroyed an oil depot in Haifa. The region is burning and the president wants out. Yet his focus does not appear to be on stabilizing the global economy or protecting deployed service members. Instead, it is consumed by collapsing domestic approval ratings. The latest YouGov polling places his approval at a historic low of 33%. Rather than managing a global crisis, the commander-in-chief has publicly obsessed over constructing presidential libraries in Miami, placing his likeness on the $100 bill, designing ornate golden ballrooms. Military leadership is openly appalled. Former commanders from allied nations are urging Washington to simply declare victory, even a symbolic one, and stop the bleeding. Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Steve Anderson has already labeled the situation the greatest geopolitical disaster in American history. However, when Anderson dismisses the Iranian military as merely religious fanatics, he makes a critical analytical mistake. Iran is not a disorganized insurgency. It is a technologically sophisticated society with world-class universities and engineering sectors institutions that are mass-producing the very advanced weaponry now. Neutralizing Western legacy systems. To underestimate them as zealots is to misunderstand why the United States is losing this war. Tehran is executing a calculated long-term strategy of economic attrition, fully aware of how much pressure the global market can withstand. Domestically, the political coalition that once championed this conflict is beginning to fracture. Loyalist commentators and prominent MAGA figures are now openly criticizing the administration. Supporters who defended the president for years are expressing outrage on social media, furious that their children are being deployed to fight a foreign war that contradicts the isolationist promises of America first. Meanwhile, American priorities appear surreal. As the Middle East destabilizes, military officials have launched an investigation after two A-64 Apache helicopters were reportedly used in Tennessee to intimidate civilian protesters before landing at musician Kid Rock's private residence for a photo opportunity. The administration is searching for an exit, but the door may already be locked. Arab states that align themselves with Washington the way Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia are now issuing a stark ultimatum. These governments invested heavily in the current administration, funneling billions into sovereign wealth funds tied to the president's private financial ventures. They believed they were purchasing a security umbrella. Now, as Iranian missiles strike their infrastructure, they are warning Washington, "You cannot abandon us. If the United States withdraws, Gulf states will be forced to construct an entirely new regional security architecture, one likely brokered by Russia and China. We will continue to monitor this unprecedented strategic collapse." Ensure your notifications are enabled, and thank you for supporting independent media as we report the unfiltered reality on the ground. Have a safe evening.